Greetings hobbyists, this is Artisans of Vol, and in this video we're taking a look at a pen tablet from XenceLabs. Having previously reviewed a graphics tablet, reviewing a pen tablet made some sense as it's something that gives a bit of a different experience and comes at a different price point. And this one from XenceLabs caught my eye. Now this is their medium tablet bundle, which comes with their quick keys. At the time of recording this, it's only £40 more to get it as the bundle as opposed to just by itself. And when I come to what the quick keys do, I think I'm going to agree that it's well worth the 40 quid. In fact, I'd probably say that it's the highlight of this bundle. As you can see up to this point, everything's really nicely boxed, everything's got its own individual little bag to stop it getting dusty, and each part is in its own cardboard recessed section. Now I have to say I filmed this about a week and a half ago, and as I was getting everything out I did note how quality everything felt. Everything feels very rigid and solid, and I can attest to that having now dropped the tablet once by accident, and it did no damage at all. Like, you couldn't even tell where this happened, and it works absolutely perfectly afterwards, and that was onto a hard wooden floor. So build quality is something you don't need to be worried about here. As you can see, it comes with all the cables you're going to need, and then we have the pen case containing what you'd expect as standard. We've got a load of different nib tips here, and then a couple of dongles which will need to connect different things to the computer. Now what is unusual here is we also get two pens. You get a thinner pen which has two buttons, which is really nice to be able to include that in the cost, whereas other companies sell that as an added extra. And then we've got the standard thicker pen that has three buttons to it. I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of used to the thicker pens now, so I'll probably end up using that. And having clocked a week and a half's worth of use with this, having those three buttons is really handy. And once again, I just want to mention the quality of this. This is going to be a reoccurring theme, but this is made of this really solid, rubbery silicone substance. I don't actually know what it is, but it's got a really nice feel to it, and it holds the pens fantastically while providing all the protection you're going to want or need for them. And then the last thing on this upper level is that you get the quick keys. Now this is effectively something that you can program your shortcuts into, but unlike a lot of other versions of these, which many other companies do, this one has a screen on it. And if you've ever used one of these before, you'll know how handy that is going to be. And then finally in the lower compartment, we get a sticker, which is nice, I guess. We also get a two-finger glove, which is always handy to have as it stops you building up a load of grease on your tablet. And then we get a carry case, which again, really good quality, really thick and padded. And again, this is just one of those things that a lot of other companies will put as an additional extra you have to spend a load of money on, whereas this comes with the bundle. Now, as I said, I've been using this for a bit over a week at this point, but I thought I'd go through all the basic tests just to show you what you should be looking for in a tablet, and that this Sense tablet passes them with flying colours, despite having been dropped about 3 days into having it. So first off, checking all the corners of the drawing area go perfectly into the corners of my screen, meaning that there's no dead areas that you can't get to with the tablet. The drawing area itself is denoted by these corners, which actually light up, and you can change the colour of them if you want to, and even do that based on what program you're going into, which I'm not sure there's much point to, but it's really fun. And the pen movements can be detected well above the surface here, being detected an impressive 16 to 18mm above the surface. The drawing surface itself is a really nice matte, and it's got a lovely smooth texture to both run your hand over and draw on, and it detects really light pressure on it, like incredibly light. I can barely be touching the surface here and it will detect that it is being touched and start working like a key press, which is a wonderful level of sensitivity to have if you're going to be using anything for a prolonged period of time. And while we're at it, speaking of prolonged use and blatantly stealing one of their own advertising photos, I just thought I'd mention that the shape of the tablet is really nice, with it angled down at the edge to rest your hand on. It does really help when you're using this for a long period of time. It just keeps everything really nice and comfortable to work on. Now, having a look at the pen sensitivity, this is also really good. As I mentioned, you can get this working with a very, very light touch, but it's also great for measuring that sensitivity in terms of how hard you press and then relating that to what's happening on screen. So here you can see me pressing gradually harder and then lighter and getting the change in the depth of this sculpt, or you could set this to pen thickness or something like that. And you can see just how smooth that transition is. There's no juddering or anything like that as it picks up changes. It does that very nicely at all levels of pressure. It also works really nicely in terms of that repeatability. If I draw an indent here and then we stop it part way along, I can come back to that and get the same depth again from nothing, and that repeatability is really important if you want some consistent results. This really is a fantastic tablet that works very, very smoothly and is very comfortable to use when working on it throughout the day. They just seem to have thought of all the design elements really nicely. The only design element I'd say I'm possibly not the hugest fan of is having the 3 buttons at the top of the screen. I'm not really sure what you're going to really do with them there. They are still useful to have, but you're not going to want to constantly be pressing them. Maybe having them on the left-hand side would be good. But then I guess if you're left-handed, then that's also really annoying. So I guess it sort of makes sense. And the bit that's really excellent, if you remember earlier when I said that there's a dongle that is in that pen case, is that while I've got this connected in the video here and it works perfectly, you can also have it disconnected and work wirelessly, and there is absolutely no lag at all when doing so. As you can see here, you can just pull the cable out and seamlessly it will transition to the wireless mode, keeping all that high level of sensitivity and smooth workflow that we've already discussed. And Sense claims that despite this being really thin as a tablet, like it's only 8mm in thickness, that it's got a battery that will last up to 16 hours, and I've got no reason to doubt that. I've used this for a bit over 10 hours and it got down to about 49% battery, so I'd say it might even be able to beat that, and they're being a little bit conservative in their estimates. But either way, the idea of taking it somewhere and needing to use this tablet for a day without having access to a power socket shouldn't be something that concerns you. And for me, that's a really good use case here for this tablet, and something where graphics tablets completely fall down on. Now, I just want to spend a little bit more time, and you'll notice there is a chunk of this review remaining talking about this, the quick keys. And this seems like a bit of an odd thing to focus on, but honestly it was the thing that stood out for me as possibly the most amazing bit of this product. Like, this is great. And this is why. This is my setup of my 8 preferred keys when sculpting in Blender. And you can see what's so good about this is that it tells you on the screen what each of the keys does. No more taking masking tape and sticking them on top of your keys to try and remember what everything is doing, which I guess is a solution that works. But what's even cooler about this is that we can change what all of the keys do really easily, and actually we can have up to 5 different presets, each of 8 different key combinations. Now, how you set this up is entirely up to you, but for me, I have the same 4 keys at the bottom because they're the ones that I'm always using in Blender, and then depending on what mode I am in, I change the ones at the top. And it's really easy to just make a new preset here. You can just copy the one that you've already got, paste it where it's going to, and then you can just start changing things as you want. And as you do this, you don't just set the key press, but you also set the name as well. And that's the name that's going to appear on the quick key. And with 5 sets of keys, and each of them being 8 keys, that means you could have up to 40 shortcuts set on this small device. Now, I can almost hear people screaming at the screen that you get this on other devices as well, where you can set these presets. But the important bit here that I think I need to emphasise is that it's not just that you can set the presets, it's that they've given you a button on the device to swap between them, which means you just press it and then now you're in your object mode preset, or you just press it again to go into your sculpting mode preset, which means those 40 key combinations are actually very accessible, not just something that's there and you never really use because it's too much effort to go into the software and change it again. And then they have other simple but fantastic ideas, like each of the combinations for the turning wheel, such as zoom or brush size, has a different colour to each of the rings, so that when you press that and it changes, it one tells you on the screen what you've changed to, and it changes the colour on the ring as you move into each of those different modes, so you know what mode you're in at a glance and you don't accidentally start changing something you don't want to change. And it's simple features like this that makes a product really last in terms of something you're going to want to keep using and not get annoyed with. Now, the other thing that this can do, which I hadn't even considered, but now that I've got this quick key I can't understand why everything wouldn't have it, is that you might want to change what orientation that you're going to be using this in. For example, I quite like this in this sideways mode, which they kind of advise you to do. But you can also just change it. So now that you're going to be using it that way up, if that's the way you prefer your keys, you can set it that way and all the text will be changed. Or if you're the product of a satanic union and are left-handed, let's rotate this entirely around so that we can use it left-handed, and again we've got everything in exactly the place we want it to be. Or if you're doing something where you're going to use that wheel more frequently than the buttons. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but isn't that really cool? Isn't that just a level of customizability that you want? Or maybe I'm just too used to Blender where you can customize every little thing in every colour, and this isn't something that people actually want. But to me, this is brilliant. Okay, I think that's got dangerously close to a rant, so I'm going to bring this to a close here. and I'll just leave some of those main features on the screen. Now if you do have any questions on anything that I haven't covered here, feel free to throw them in the comments section, or if you've got one of these yourself and you want to chime in on how good it is or anything that I've missed out, or anything that's problematic with it, feel free. It's really useful and I just want everyone to have as much information as they can. If there's anything I can't answer, then I'll be very clear about that. But hopefully having used it quite a bit now, I should be able to tell you what you want to know. There's also a couple of links in the description, one to their website and the other one to where you can buy this on Amazon. They are affiliate links. I'm not getting paid by XenceLabs for having made this video, but if you are interested in purchasing one of these, it'd be really appreciated if you did use one of those links, as it helps give a little bit of money to support the channel. Have a great day, guys.